saw the racket fall.
War's over, brother. Peace broke out.
That's nice.
We just won a war, Prime Minister. Now, it appears we've lost its greatest heroine.
Lost track of her, Mom, for the time being.
Well, where is she? I understand the Lord Mayor was arranging a parade. Royal Fusiliers.
She was last seen entering a convent of nuns in Bermondsey.
Nuns? Catholic nuns?
Yes, Mom.
Are we still in England? I thought you knew the family.
I do. Highly respected people.
And yet their daughter.
I would say she was always unusual, Mom.
One bundle?
Florence! Oh. Hello, Watson. Help! Help! Help!
One dark, lonely night on Crimea's dread shore, there was bloodshed and fighting the morning before. The dead and the dying lay bleeding around, some crying for help, but none could be found. What we need is a miracle, a blooming human miracle. We need someone to help us where we lie, to make us well, 'cause we don't want to die. So what we need is a miracle down here right now. Then God sent his angel to succor the brave, 10,000 she saved from an untimely grave. The wounded may love her, as it can be seen. She's the soldiers' preserver. They call her their queen.
Hello, Queenie.
What we got was a miracle. A living human miracle. We got a lady with no rustic tail who made us well. Our rest is nothing now. What we got was a miracle. A miracle to hear right now.
Rest, rest, and more rest.
Yes, thank you, Doctor. See to it.
You know what they're calling her? The soldier's preserver.
Who calls her that?
All sorts, Ma'am. It's from a song.
Really? A song about Florence? Oh, my poor brave little girl.
Come, my dear.
My beloved mother and father. How they fought to keep me at home. Fought all my plans and dreams for myself. But now that I'm a national heroine, how proud they are. They even call me brave. Brave. Brave for doing my duty. The soldiers, they were the brave ones. Lying there, strapped down, while their shattered legs were hacked off. And no chloroform for the lower ranks. I'm still in a rage about it. Still there. The tree. The little bench. The garden where all my troubles first began. Then, if scripture is to be believed, isn't a garden where all our troubles first began? I was so young. I was innocent. No thoughts of war or disease. My only struggle, how to escape from a life that was poisoning me with vanity and social expectations. But one day something happened that changed me forever. I remember sunlight so bright, too bright. Then a voice. Really, a voice. I was being asked. No, I was being told in no uncertain terms that my life belonged to God, that He had work for me to do. Yes, Lord, let me think of Thy will. Only of Thy will. Let me serve You. You alone. Well, how could I? I had to admit God's message was sadly lacking in details. What exactly was I to do? All I knew was that I was being stifled. No food for my head, no food for my heart. Slowly dying in a diet of triviality. I prayed, God, show me a way out. Teach me, tell me. And yet, when He did at last and I answered the call, the things I saw. No rest for me now then. Not till the truth is told to all.
Listen to this. An American has written a poem about the war.
Everyone's writing poems about the war, dear.
Yes, well, this one's all the rage, apparently. Whene'er a noble deed is wrought, whene'er is spoken a noble thought, lo, in that house of misery, a lady with a lamp I see. She passes through the glimmering gloom and flits from room to room.
Flits? I doubt if our Florence has ever flitted in her life.
Well, Mr. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow thinks she does, so who are we to argue?
Oh,
Flora, you all right?
Florence, what are you doing downstairs?
Please, stop. If anyone asks me any more questions, I'll buy a revolver and shoot them. Well, anyone except the Queen. What are they saying now?
Mr. Longfellow's written a poem about you.
An entire army murdered. And what's being done about it? Absolutely nothing. Well, we should have to see about that. I need some air.
Florence, no, not outside. You'll catch your death of cold.
No, at least wear a coat.
My dear Papa. Always the skeptic, never sure about anything. Though years ago, when I was struggling to discover God's will for me, he did at least try to understand my pain and help me.
Flo? I wish... If only...
If only I could be satisfied with the life that satisfies you. I can't be.
But you make it so hard for yourself.
When I heard my call, I didn't hear it would be easy.
Your call.
Papa, you've never believed in it, not for a minute. Have you?
Well,
I thought not. You don't know what struggle is. And so we continued to observe our uneasy truce.
Deuced if I see how Turkey can stand up for itself anymore.
My mother played hostess to the powerful and well-connected, and I, the dutiful daughter, attended. The men talked politics, the women talked husbands.
I hear the Bible is forbidden all over Russia.
One frequent guest was Sidney Herbert, a rising star in Parliament. He sympathized with my hopes and dreams. In years to come, I would often turn to him for help. Back then, though, my thoughts were all taken up with matters of the heart.
I read that speech of yours, Sidney. Exciting stuff. But don't you think there might be a case for compromise? I mean, the Ottoman Empire...
What's your point, sir?
My point is that the sick man of Europe may be past curing.
Isn't the real point that the Tsar is a brutal tyrant and we have to stand up to tyranny wherever we find it, even at home?
Quite so. Nicely put. Anyway, I do believe that we're on a...
What's all the racket for?
War's over, brother. Peace broke out.
That's nice.
We just won a war, Prime Minister. And now, it appears we've lost its greatest heroine.
Lost track of her, Mom, for the time being.
Well, where is she? I understand the Lord Mayor was arranging a parade. Royal Fusiliers.
She was last seen entering a convent of nuns in Bermondsey.
Nuns? Catholic nuns?
Yes, Mom.
Are we still in England? I thought you knew the family.
I do. Highly respected people.
And yet their daughter.
I would say she was always unusual, Mom.
One bundle?
dark, lonely night on Crimea's dread shore, there was bloodshed and fighting the morning before. The dead and the dying lay bleeding around, some crying for help, but none could be found. What we need is a miracle, a blooming human miracle. We need someone to help us where we lie, to make us well, 'cause we don't want to die. So what we need is a miracle down here right now. Then God sent his angel to succour the brave. 10,000 she saved from an untimely grave. The wounded may love her, as it can be seen. She's the soldiers' preserver. They call her their queen.
Hello, Queenie.
What we got was a miracle, a blooming human miracle. We got the lady when all else declared, who made us well. Our rest is nothing now. What we got was a miracle down here right now.
Rest, rest, and more rest.
Yes, thank you, Doctor. See to it.
You know what they're calling her? The soldier's preserver.
Who calls her that?
All sorts, Ma'am. It's from a song.
Really? A song about Florence? Oh, my poor brave little girl.
Come, my dear.
My beloved mother and father. How they fought to keep me at home. Fought all my plans and dreams for myself. But now that I'm a national heroine, how proud they are. They even call me brave. Brave. Brave for doing my duty. The soldiers, they were the brave ones. Lying there, strapped down, while their shattered legs were hacked off. And no chloroform for the lower ranks. I'm still in a rage about it. Still there. The tree. The little bench. The garden where all my troubles first began. Then, if scripture is to be believed, isn't a garden where all our troubles first began? I was so young. I was innocent. No thoughts of war or disease. My only struggle, how to escape from a life that was poisoning me with vanity and social expectations. But one day something happened that changed me forever. I remember sunlight so bright, too bright. Then a voice. Really, a voice. I was being asked. No, I was being told in no uncertain terms that my life belonged to God, that He had work for me to do. Yes, Lord, let me think of Thy will. Only of Thy will. Let me serve You. You alone. But how could I? I had to admit God's message was sadly lacking in details. What exactly was I to do? All I knew was that I was being stifled. No food for my head, no food for my heart. Slowly dying in a diet of triviality. I prayed, God, show me a way out. Teach me, tell me. And yet, when He did at last and I answered the call, the things I saw. No rest for me now then. Not till the truth is told to all.
Listen to this. An American has written a poem about the war.
Everyone's writing poems about the war, dear.
Yes, well, this one's all the rage, apparently. Whene'er a noble deed is wrought, whene'er is spoken a noble thought, lo, in that house of misery, a lady with a lamp I see. She passes through the glimmering gloom and flits from room to room.
Flits? I doubt if our Florence has ever flitted in her life.
Well, Mr. Henry Wadsworth Longfellow thinks she does, so who are we to argue?
Oh,
Flora, you all right?
Florence, what are you doing downstairs?
Please, stop. If anyone asks me any more questions, I'll buy a revolver and shoot them. Well, anyone except the Queen. What are they saying now?
Mr. Longfellow's written a poem about you.
An entire army murdered. And what's being done about it? Absolutely nothing. Well, we shall have to see about that. I need some air.
Florence, no, not outside. You'll catch your death of cold.
At least wear a coat.
My dear Papa. Always the skeptic, never sure about anything. Though years ago, when I was struggling to discover God's will for me, he did at least try to understand my pain and help me.
Flo? I wish... If only...
If only I could be satisfied with the life that satisfies you. I can't be.
But you make it so hard for yourself.
When I heard my call, I didn't hear it would be easy.
Your call.
Papa, you've never believed in it, not for a minute. Have you?
Well,
I thought not. You don't know what struggle is. And so we continued to observe our uneasy truce.
Deuced if I see how Turkey can stand up for itself anymore.
My mother played hostess to the powerful and well-connected, and I, the dutiful daughter, attended. The men talked politics, the women talked husbands.
I hear the Bible is forbidden all over Russia.
One frequent guest was Sidney Herbert, a rising star in Parliament. He sympathized with my hopes and dreams. In years to come, I would often turn to him for help. Back then, though, my thoughts were all taken up with matters of the heart.
I read that speech of yours, Sidney. Exciting stuff. But don't you think there might be a case for compromise? I mean, the Ottoman Empire...
What's your point, sir?
My point is that the sick man of Europe may be past curing.
Isn't the real point that the Tsar is a brutal tyrant and we have to stand up to tyranny wherever we find it, even at home?
Quite so. Nicely put. Anyway, I do believe that we're on a...
Susceptibilities to be considered. Are we agreed?
Yes. Agreed.
Good. Give my regards to your charming mother. I hope to have the pleasure of seeing you at the Devonshires next weekend.
Oh, I'm afraid you won't see me. I'll be writing my report.
Excellent. To work, then.
Sweet room, ready, waiting for you. Please, if there's anything that you need, anything at all.
They want a report from me, do they? Then they shall have it. This room shall be my war office. My family always stay here when we come to London. The fine old Burlington Hotel. This room is ample, and compared with my lodgings in the Crimea, utter luxury. But how could I sleep in comfort when so many of my children lie in unmarked graves? I call them my children. Those ordinary soldiers who died in pain and silence, uncomplaining. Though the officers called them brutes, the scum of the earth. My children. What a tale I have to tell. How eager and proud they all were when they first set out. The very names of those regiments made our hearts beat faster. The Royal Dragoons, the Grenadier Guards, the 93rds, the Enniskillings. The Coldstream Guards, the Royal Fusiliers. Off they went, with their brand new rifles and pretty sparkling uniforms. Off to teach the Russian bear a lesson. The finest army in the world, we thought. Invincible, we thought. Back home in a month, we thought.
Oh, everybody, let's hear it for our brave British boys in British uniforms.
I can't believe it.
Is it? Oh, no, it isn't.
Oh,
you're right. It's a lightning, frightening, fighting Light Brigade!
The Ruskies of Light Brigade. For glory, Queen, and country too, we draw our steel and shout hooray.
The lightning, frightening, fighting Light Brigade. Who never been afraid.
We're the glorious Light Brigade. The Ruskies of Light Brigade. You've never seen soldiers like us before, who've only charged the cannons roar. The lightning, frightening, fighting Light Brigade, who never will ever be afraid.
An army that had spent more time on the parade ground than on the battlefield, commanded by a dear old gentleman whose last taste of action was Waterloo 40 years before. This force, incredibly, due to the heroism of the common soldier, won 3 battles against huge odds. But the cost, and those blundering generals. I know this much. If any woman had managed her kitchen the way our generals managed that campaign, she and her entire family would have been reduced to the poorhouse in weeks. As it was, the British Army was reduced to a regiment of living skeletons, dressed in rags, crawling with vermin, and if they were wounded or got sick, worse was waiting. A death house in the shape of the military hospital at Scutari. The casualties mounted and the death rate soared. Thousands died of disease and neglect. But the soldiers were writing home, and the London Times sent out its best reporter. Before long, the appalling truth was known in every English parlour. Only then did we begin to understand the full horror of what our men were going through.
Listen to this. It is with feelings of anger and surprise that the public will learn that no preparations have been made to care for our wounded in the Crimea. Not only are there not sufficient surgeons, there's not even linen to make bandages. Arriving at the hospital, they lie in their own waste, covered by a single blanket, eating meat, raw, stiff with salt, or rotten with maggots.
Not over breakfast, dear, please.
Let me see. Excuse me, Mother. At last, I knew what I must do. All my training could now be put to use. But I needed an ally. So I wrote to my dear old friend, Sidney Herbert, now a powerful member of the War Cabinet. As it happened, a letter from him crossed with mine in the post.
Dear Miss Nightingale, I have recently been receiving letters from ladies offering to go out to the Crimea and give medical care to our injured troops. I know of only one person in England capable of organizing and directing such a scheme. Yourself. I suggest that you start interviewing likely candidates as soon as possible.
Well, I wrote back immediately. Dear Mr. Herbert, I've already begun. Which was only partly untrue. I started the next day, only to discover that while many called themselves nurses, Few are fit to be chosen. And why do you feel yourself qualified?
Well, when I read about it in the newspapers, I cried buckets. And buckets. And buckets.
Well, I just thought of those poor boys. How they must miss a woman's touch.
Pardon?
Well, I never did mind hard work, and I'm not easily shocked. I just do my best and carry on.
Well, I won't deny that the money will come in useful. I take it we do get paid. Good. How much?
How old? Just turned 17, I think.
It's me back. And me knees. They're not what they used to be, you know.
At our convent in Bermondsey, we see every kind of disease and deformity.
You're a Catholic order, I believe.
We make it our business to save the body first. Then, and only then, do we attend to the soul. If that's what concerns you.
We leave in a week. How many can you bring?
War ain't no place for a woman, it's only a place for a man. This foe we fight from morn till night and beat him when we can. So don't come here to interfere with the British battle plan. War ain't no place for a woman, it's only a place for a man. Right here, it's only a place for a man.
If war's no place for a woman, it's hardly a place for a man. We'll ride the wave and try to save as many as we can. We're Nightingale and nurses, you'll thank us and not curse us. We'll rescue you from pain and fear, we'll bring you comfort and good cheer. We've come to hold your hand.
War ain't no place for a woman, it's really a masculine game. So when some females move in, it's simply not the same. Just when the fun is starting, you come with your roots and curls. Our only needs to do great deeds and not be hobbled but utterly free from a gaggle of twittering, tittering, simpering, whimpering.
We landed in Turkey just as autumn gave way to winter. My final choice of nurses were a mixed brigade requiring much drilling. Some experienced, some less so. Some happy just to be paid. Some there out of pure charity and love of God.
Follow me. Step lively. Mind where you put your feet.
We had expected chaos, but nothing had prepared us for those barracks at Scutari. Here, just across a narrow strip of water from Constantinople, the British High Command had established the nearest thing I'd ever seen to hell on earth. It was, in fact, the main hospital for receiving the casualties from the Crimea. It was there I met Sir John Hall, Chief Medical Officer for the British Army in the East.
No chloroform for the lower ranks, Mr. Davis. Let us hear the man bawl lustily. At least then we'll know he's still alive. Fine, carry on.
Sir?
Ah, Miss Nightingale. I'd heard you were coming.
And from what I've seen so far, not a moment too soon.
Maybe so, and maybe not. As I read the instructions from your friend, the Right Honourable Sidney Herbert, you are under the clear direction of the medical staff here. That means that neither you nor any of your ladies will do anything without the express written permission of a military doctor. In other words, Miss Nightingale, here in my hospital, you are in charge of nothing with the exception of your personal laundry. Am I clear?
But do let us know when you need help.
See to them.
Do we have to give them rations, sir?
Certainly not.
This way.
The quarters we were herded into were squalid and cramped, alive with vermin, the air heavy with the stench of fever and death.
Oh, so that's where he went. Been missing for a day or two. Sorry about that, ladies. We'll have it removed forthwith.
First, the strongest of you to the washtubs. Everyone else has had those floors swept, the windows cleaned, that stove working. Where are the brooms?
Brooms? That's a joke.
Find brooms. If you can't find them, make them. That night, we went to bed in the dark. The next day, we cleaned out our new home, and then nothing. It was as if we had been sealed up in our dingy little corner, frozen out by Sir John Hall and his doctors, deliberately forgotten. Was this why we had traveled all across Europe? We knew how much we were needed, and we knew the difference we could make. This was the cruelest trial of all. To wait, to have to listen to the screams of the sick and dying, was almost past endurance. But I knew those gentlemen officers. They saw us as twittering society do-gooders in search of a fevered brow to mop or a manly hand to hold, as a brave soldier slipped off to his maker. Bless our dear little hearts. They certainly did not want some well-connected female nuisance giving instructions to their orderlies. But I'd grown up with ministers of the realm and titled bigwigs sitting at our dinner table. I knew the little games, I knew the rules, and I knew how to win. So, we waited.
What is it?
Big battle. Incoming. Casualties. They're coming in. A lot. Sir John says...
Ladies,
can you...
follow me. That was the moment of victory. We were liberated, set free to do what we had trained for and had come to do. But after victory comes counterattack, in the shape of a system seemingly designed to create confusion. The officials in charge of supplies, I soon discovered, were masters of red tape, experts in obfuscation and delay. I was clearly marked out as the enemy. I needed allies, and I knew of only two sources I could rely on. The good Lord, who never left me through all my trials, and his chief angel of mercy, my old friend, Sidney Herbert. Dear Mr. Herbert, the supply officers fix their attention on the correctness of their bookkeeping as the primary object of life. Last week we had run out of bread, soap, carrots, poultices, and many other necessities. I went to the supply officer and asked him, was he expecting these things from England? No, he said. Are you doing anything about purchasing them? No, he said. Can they be had in the local town? If they can, I don't know how to get them, was his answer. So, Mr. Herbert, I went out myself and I bought them with my own money. In short, I am now a general dealer in socks, shirts, knives and forks, The tin meat baths, is not cabbage and cooked. carrots.
The water is not boiled. The cooking is done by drunken soldiers.
I must refer again to the deficiency of knives and forks here. The men tear their food like animals. Will you send us 1,000 mops, 3,000 tin plates? I go about making the orderlies empty huge tubs of human waste. The mortality is frightful. 30 in the last 24 hours, and this was Christmas Day, 1854. The state of the troops who return here is frostbitten, starved, ragged. No wonder they die in their hundreds. No washing has been performed for the men, neither of body linen nor of bed linen. except by ourselves. The consequences of this are fever, cholera. I shall endure. I shall not break my heart of disappointment at the total inefficiency of the hospital system here. I shall bear it willingly. I was called to do this work, and I will fight on for God and for the right, for they are worth fighting for. I now see clearly what must be done. If these conditions are happening here, they are happening elsewhere. I have written a plan for the systematic reorganization of these hospitals. Please make sure, Mr. Herbert, that it reaches the highest levels of the government. I have more and more reason to believe that these hospitals are the kingdom of hell, but I fervently believe they can be made into the kingdom of heaven.
Get some sleep. I don't know how your body keeps going.
Why doesn't this silly thing...
Here, let me...
Thank you, Reverend Mother. And my body is strong. It's... my spirit, I get so discouraged. How could even Jesus not be? How did he persist?
He was the love of God incarnate. He could love the good even in the worst.
Could Jesus love Sir John Hall when he forbids the men chloroform?
If Sir John Hall sins, I believe the sacrifice of Jesus can redeem it.
Sometimes I think I expect too much from God.
Well, he is God Almighty, Florence, and not your private secretary.
I suppose not. If he were, I'd say send more bedpans, Lord.
Can't get around it, Florence. God is in charge, not you.
Time for rounds.
They love you, you know. Those soldiers.
Then I'm most blessed. Spring came, and so did the government inspectors, sent out after Sidney Herbert spoke to the right people. And gradually we began to have something that looked more like a real hospital, staffed by nurses who were disciplined and professional. But those poor fellows who died in front of our eyes that first winter, they will not let me rest until I tell the world of all they suffered. Who is it? Just a moment. The wonderful Dr. Farr, a member of my unofficial war cabinet. He brings me such charming gifts. Sets of figures, all neatly tabulated.
Pardon me, do I intrude?
No, Dr. Farr, come in.
No work today, Miss Nightingale?
Yes, of course. I have to go out, but I'll be back in an hour. What have you got for me?
Some very interesting comparative death rates.
Excellent. Will you write up a praise for me, Dr. Farr? We'll look it over when I get back. Meanwhile, you can wish me luck.
Luck? Why? Where are you going?
Into battle. I know what you're thinking. Here comes that bothering woman again.
Oh, no, not at all. A delightful interlude in my all-too humdrum day.
Then, like all good interludes, I should be brief. I come on behalf of the Crimean dead.
Ah, yes, the Royal Commission.
Which still has not met and has not even received your signature, Prime Minister.
Indeed, yes. Well, you must understand there are... how shall I put it?
I know, susceptibilities. Tell me, my lord, in all candour, do you mean to shelve it?
Shelve it?
To silence me, to shut me up?
Miss Nightingale, you must understand that this is the start of the grouse shooting season.
Yes, of course, those poor birds.
The point is, my dear, that all the important people are leaving town.
I understand. Then, perhaps, with so many people at leisure, now would be a good time to publish my own narrative of the Crimean campaign?
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, we agreed your report would be confidential.
Indeed we did. And once it is fully commissioned and I hand it over to you, it will be. Until that happy moment, I believe I have complete liberty. And Mr. Russell of the Times has already expressed such an interest in a first-hand account of my Crimean experiences. Good day, my lord.
How went the battle?
I think we won.
Oh, brilliant. And by the way, you might want to look at my précis. The mortality rates in each regiment relative to the percentage.
Let me see.
Are you sure you're not too tired?
I'm never tired when I see a column of numbers. Are you sure these figures are correct?
Yes, of course.
Then we must go over them, every single one. Pass me that book and the figures you gave me yesterday. So there's no doubt.
Statistics tell us facts, not who is to blame for them.
I am to blame.
No, I'm sure you did your best.
It was not enough.
Dr. Farr. Florence, my dear young girl, do you realise what you just did? The papers for the Royal Commission will be signed tomorrow. I have it on the best authority. Well done, Flo. And guess who will be chairman? What? What?
My poor man, who endured so patiently. I've been such a bad mother to you. God, why have you forsaken me?
Flo? Guilty? How can you say that?
Because I am guilty as charged.
Nonsense, my dear. There's absolutely no proof.
No proof? Scutari, last January, mortality from disease, 576 per thousand. At the front, same 4 weeks, mortality from disease, only 17 per thousand. At Scutari, a 25% greater chance of death from diseases of the stomach and bowels.
Flo, please, these are just figures.
Just figures? I murdered those men.
Come. Everybody knows you saved lives. All that soup you made, all the knives and forks you procured.
Soup, forks. That first winter, a nurse came to me and said, there are some beds the men won't lie in. They call them bad luck beds. Whoever goes to sleep in them doesn't wake up again. Nonsense, I said. Wash the sheets, dress the wounds, feed the men and they'll get better. It turned out they were right. The whole hospital was built over a lake of sewage.
Which, of course, was then cleaned out.
Too late.
Why?
Me. Ignorance. Exhaustion from my fights with doctors. Arrogance. I was God's own handmaid, wasn't I? So of course I knew best.
But you had absolutely no authority.
No, but I had Sidney Herbert in London at the centre of power. I wrote to him every week, and not once did I ask for help with sanitation. I asked for pillows. It took a government commission 4 months later to flush out the sewers. Do you know what they found when they dug out the channel that brought us our drinking water? A dead horse. And all the time I was saying, send your patients here, we'll take care of them, we're professionals, we're nurses. They should never have listened to me. They should have stayed away. Oh, my poor children.
It's over. You did your duty. Nothing more to be done now.
Yes, there is.
What?
Tell the truth. If that means I'm to be crucified with other murderers like Sir John Hall on either side of me, well, isn't that the traditional way?
And what exactly will that achieve? Flo! Flo, please, child, think carefully. Martyrs seldom leave anything behind them but their ashes.
Better a useless martyr than a cowardly deserter.
trust you slept well?
Is it morning?
Yes. And Lord Palmerston is expecting your report. Is that it?
Yes.
All done?
It is finished. Let it go.
I trust you found Miss Nightingale's report of use, Your Lordship. Extraordinary. Most valuable.
So you will present it to the Commission?
Florence, one must consider the public mood.
Exactly. The nation wants to move on. And let us not forget, our Queen, nay, the whole of Her Majesty's government, are dedicated to reform. But for reform, we must look to the future.
And not fight old battles, Florence.
Well put, Sidney.
If I were to publish my own report?
Ah, but there is that confidentiality clause. Besides, the public would not stand for the loss of one of their greatest heroines. It would set back the cause for those very reforms you and our gracious Queen so earnestly desire. You do look tired, Florence. So much work. It drains the system. After 2 years fretting about the health of our army, isn't it time you took care of your own?
What we need is a miracle down here right now. Then God sent his angel to succor the brave. 10,000 she saved from an untimely grave. The wounded, they love her, as it can be seen. She's a soldier's preserver, they call her their queen.
Hello, Queenie.
What we got was a miracle, a blooming human miracle. We got that lady when all else did fail, who made us...
What's going on?
Not to worry, ladies and gentlemen. Now, she will be fine. Look, there's attendants round her now. No, stay where you are. She will be all right. She's faced worse things than this now. She'll be all right. Now, please, keep your seats. Keep your seats and stay there. Look, she's coming round already. Look.
Rule Britannia, Britannia rules the waves. Britons never, never, never shall be slaves. Rule Britannia, Britannia rules the waves. Britons never, never, never shall be slaves. Rule Britannia, Britannia rules the waves. Britons never, never, never shall be slaves.
That is heartening news, Prime Minister.
Yes, Mom. Thank you.
And when does this commission of ours expect to start hearing evidence?
Next week, I believe.
And will Miss Nightingale appear before it?
Ah, no. It was decided to submit her evidence in writing through me.
I see. And how is the dear girl?
Somewhat indisposed, Ma'am, after her Herculean efforts. I believe she's taking the waters in Malvern Spa.
Well, tell her we wish her a speedy recovery.
I'll convey that sentiment to her father when I see him next.
Excuse me.
Excuse me. Excuse me, please. Excuse me.
Not to be disturbed.
Where's my daughter?
Especially by her family.
I have to see my daughter. I've been told she hasn't eaten for a week.
Well, we can't exactly force her to eat.
You didn't even call a doctor.
I'm sure she's fine, sir. Mr. Nightingale!
Florence!
Florence! Flo. I'm aware that we need to talk. We haven't always done that, have we? I'm also aware that there have been times in my life when I've been too distant. Too much in my books, my thoughts. But you know I always loved you. Don't you?
Yes, Papa. Yes, I do.
And yet, in a way, I feel I was always a little afraid of you.
You. Of me.
Well, you are so independent, so headstrong.
Well, I had to be, didn't I?
Yes. Of course, you know, I had ambitions too. Politics. William Edward Nightingale, MP. I thought that had a nice ring to it. Better than good old Wen, decent chap, but not much good at getting the vote out. Well, I wasn't to be. I've been left behind in the race. A lot of races. Whereas you, on the other hand...
Papa, I'm sure if there's a House of Commons in the next life, you'll be a member.
Perhaps that my real calling in life was to be your teacher when you were little.
Except, you see, one can be wrong about one's calling.
Oh, Flo. Be patient with yourself. Haven't I always said that the world needs pioneers?
Yes, many times.
And you are just such a pioneer.
But if you're a pioneer and you lead others into a swamp, into death, how can you not blame yourself?
What if it's all part of a plan?
What is?
The mistakes.
So when God called me, he called me to make mistakes. But you don't believe in my call, do you?
I believe in you, my little genius.
No. You think the call was just my own voice, don't you? Nothing more.
Well, I think once I did, but now I...
What?
Oh, does it matter?
It matters to me.
What I think?
Yes, Father.
Then I think that you are human, and that God is God. And he teaches us all through our mistakes, and all we common mortals can do is work through trial and error.
For my errors, I'm now on trial.
And what about Jesus?
What do you mean?
I heard you in the church when you were praying, when you thought you were alone. My God, why hast thou forsaken me?
I meant... I once felt so close to God. And now...
I know. And I meant that you are not the first to feel that despair. Yet, when you look back on it, that suffering led to great good.
But I'm not Christ.
Precisely. Flo, let God be the judge. He's in charge, not you.
Well, my dear, what now?
Do you know, if I had my health, I think I should like to see what's going on in our English hospitals.